Uniquely Human Study Notes. Chapter 2, How to Listen Effectively. Specifically, this chapter talks about echolalia and its meaning in autistic children's communications. What is echolalia? Echolalia is a repetition of words or phrases borrowed from others. Echolalia is a normal part of speech and language development for toddlers. For neurotypicals, it usually stops by age 3. But after that, it is one of the first signs that alerts parents to a potential developmental difference. Imagine a child, instead of answering a question with their own words, repeats a line from their favorite cartoon or echoes back the question you just asked. That's echolalia. The echoes can come from anywhere: conversations, TV shows, songs, or books. Historically, some professionals viewed echolalia as a negative autistic behavior. It was seen as meaningless parenting or silly talk that was an obstacle to learning normal language. The goal was often to stop or extinguish this behavior. However, echolalia is far more complex than it appears. It is a child's first attempt to learn language and connect it with the world around them. The echoes are used for many purposes, but the meaning is not always immediately obvious. We have to learn to listen differently in order to understand the true message. One of the most important functions of echolalia is to communicate basic needs and feelings, especially before a child can form their own unique sentences. For example, Jeff kept repeating the sound doo-wah in the class. To the teacher, it probably sounded like a meaningless, disruptive noise. But the author, Dr. Barry, kept asking why. It turned out Jeff had a cold and a sore throat. He was echoing a memory of his mom telling him to open his mouth and say ah when he was sick before. He wasn't being random, he was using the expression because he had to tell the adults in the room, I don't feel well. Echoes can be used to ask questions or express abstract feelings like fear and anxiety. Here's another example. A boy was about to go swimming, but he looked nervous and suddenly said, no dogs, dogs bite. But there were no dogs anywhere near the pool. So what was he really saying? He was feeling anxious about his safety in the water. The phrase no dogs, dogs bite was a chunk of language he had stored away that was linked to a feeling of danger. By using that echo, he was essentially asking, is this safe? Am I going to be okay? He was expressing a complex fear using the words he had available. Beyond direct communication, echolalia is a powerful tool for self-regulation. When an autistic person feels overwhelmed, anxious, or overloaded by sensory input, repeating a familiar phrase or song can be calming. Here's another example. A student would stand up and sing the circle of life when the teacher was talking too fast and he couldn't keep up. He wasn't trying to be disruptive, he felt overwhelmed and anxious because he couldn't keep up. The song with its predictable rhythm and melody was a coping mechanism. It was his way of managing an overwhelming feeling. Most of us might play a favorite song in our heads when we're stressed, but for him, that coping tool was external. Echolalia is often a natural step in the process of learning language. When a child takes a step to communicate using an echo and they're met with be quiet or stop that say talk, it can cause them to withdraw. So the most important advice is the simplest: listen, observe, and ask why. Listen to the echo. What is the source? Observe the context. What's happening right now? Ask why. What could the child be trying to say with this specific phrase in this specific moment? So if we shouldn't stop it, what should we do? We can act as language detectives and help the child deconstruct these echo chunks. One great strategy is to simplify our own language. Using shorter sentences gives them smaller, more manageable chunks to work with. Another is to add gestures, connecting words to actions to build meaning. We could also use visuals. Most autistic people are stronger visual thinkers. Simply writing or typing what they want to say can be a game changer. Here's a summary of this chapter. First, echolalia is not meaningless. It is a vital tool for communication, self-regulation, and learning. Second, it represents an alternative path to language where children learn in chunks first. Third, our role is to support this process, not stop it by using strategies like simple language and visual aids. And finally, the most important thing we can do is to listen with curiosity and empathy. By reframing how we see echolalia, we can better support the autistic people in our lives and honor their unique ways of connecting with the world. Thanks for watching.